courage, commitment, desire. This is the Blitz, baby!
Downey, and this gentleman to my left is Will Parchman, and we're bringing you the Northwest Florida Daily News' Prep Football Blitz, where each week we take a look and get you guys set for the week that is coming in area high school football. And Will, before we do that, before we look at week one, which is getting underway Thursday, let's take a look back at preseason and maybe the top thing that stood out in your mind. I know when I look back, I was at the Niceville-Fort Walton Beach game, and just a ton of offense. That's what kind of stood out to me. Fort Walton Beach and Niceville, both offensive units appeared to be in mid-season form. 460 yards for Fort Walton Beach, over 300 for Niceville. So a high-scoring offensive affair in Niceville. Will, what kind of stood out to you?
Well, kind of on that offensive, that same tab, I was out at Freeport. I was able to kind of see their offense, what they were able to do. Over 400 yards of total offense, and they didn't even have Nathan Hendrickson, their blur of a running back. So I think maybe Freeport putting District 1A on notice maybe a little bit during the preseason. They're definitely I put them up in the top 2 or 3 in that district. First, let's move to Rocky Bayou Christian and Copaya. Obviously Rocky Bayou in their first year in the district, going in their first kind of non-district slate. How do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting game on a couple of different reasons. I think largely because Rocky Bayou, the beginning of a new era of sorts in the district football now. Copaya Academy, it's going to be at home for Rocky Bayou, which I believe the first several games are. So hopefully they can make the most of this homestand. I don't know, given the fact that Rocky Bayou's lost so many players due to injuries and attrition as well. I don't know if they're going to be favored in this game. I would lean more towards Copaya Academy. I think it should be a close game. Hopefully it'll be a close game, and Rocky Bayou can kind of start the season on a positive note.
Yeah, I would kind of lean Copaya's way as well. I think the Dion Wright injury is really kind of going to color their season and how that goes. They're so dependent on the running game, and he was so big. So moving on, we've got South Walton at Franklin County, team kind of hard luck team in the last few years. How you kind of see that one?
Yeah, this is the game that kind of jump-started South Walton's magical season of a year ago to a district title and a playoff win, first ever in school history. I think South Walton will go on the road. This was against a Franklin County team. Didn't win a game a year ago. David Barron believes they've improved. They can only go up after a 0-10 season. I still think David Barron and South Walton will go on the road, get this done, and start the season off with a big win.
Moving on, we've also got West Florida at Walton coming up here on Friday. West Florida, obviously that team that had that horrible stretch a few years ago, but last year they kind of turned it around a little bit and actually beat Walton. So
they won 4 games last year, 4-6 on the season, and like you mentioned, they beat Walton rather handedly. 38-12 was the score in that game. Walton is a team that I can't really figure out. They've lost some key cogs from last year. They've got some promising players at certain positions, particularly on that defensive line, which you've alluded to several times. I'm leaning towards West Florida. I know Lenny Jankowski and them will probably use that as bulletin board material, but I think West Florida, it's going to be interesting to see how Walton can kind of respond to the losses they've had and do it against a West Florida team that's made some improvements.
Absolutely. I would point to kind of their inexperience at running back and at quarterback as kind of the guiding mentality. And I would kind of agree with you there. I would take West Florida as well, maybe in a squeaker.
A squeaker.
Yeah. Moving along, Choctaw at Catholic, Pensacola Catholic, such a tough team year in and year out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think you've mentioned it. We've mentioned it in our blogs here lately on nwfvarsity.com where Choctaw Hatchie's got some injuries, some key injuries. Quarterback, linebacker, running back. You name it. They're feeling some losses there. I still think, and maybe I'm wrong in this, I still think Choctaw's going to go on the road to Pensacola Catholic, a 2B football team, and find a way to get it done. Alex Shugley is a key linebacker, and he's really the key in my prediction. If he's healthy and they have that defensive leader on the field, I do think Choctaw can win this game. If he's not, I think it's going to be much more difficult, but I'm still going to go with Choctaw, and kind of an upset maybe.
Yeah, I think we're going to have our first disagreement here. I think I'm going to go with Catholic. Just, Choctaw, so much inexperience. It sounds like they're going to be starting a sophomore at quarterback, without Freddie Gray and Zach Morgan. I think it's going to be tough with a team like that to pull that one out on the road. And it may be the one that skewed the most, on paper. We got Baker at Crestview, kind of that battle. How do you kind of see that one panning out?
I'm sure Bob Kellogg loves that. Yeah, Crestview and Baker, the inaugural Bulletin Bowl It's going to be taking place at Crestview. It should be an interesting game in that it's a rivalry, and the teams proximity. They're really close. A lot of these kids know each other. But on the field, between the lines, Crestview is the obvious favorite. Their strengths play right into Crestview Baker's weaknesses, that line play, physical game. Crestview's going to win this one, and it could get pretty handedly for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be pretty ugly. I'm sure Bob Kellogg has designs of coming in there and being the underdogs, but Crestview's just too big, too fast, too deep for a team like Baker that's replacing so many starters from last year. Moving on, Navarre at Fort Walton Beach, coming to Fort Walton Beach here. Maybe another one of these games that you're not really expecting a whole lot from the underdogs.
Yeah, it could be another game where it starts off really close. Both teams start off pretty even, and then the depth and the speed of Fort Walton Beach may just be too much in the end. I think Fort Walton Beach, coming off of that performance they put against Niceville, they're the favorite. I predict them to win by a couple of touchdowns. I know that may sting some folks in Navarre, but you look at Luke Barnes, 16 of 26, a touchdown, 2 picks, one of which was on the last play of the game. He was in midseason form, as was that entire offense. The defense looked pretty good. I like Fort Walton Beach to win this game.
I would definitely agree with you there. Fort Walton Beach offense is just so explosive, and Navarre still kind of struggling offensively. They couldn't really get a whole lot together in their scrimmage last week.
They had 19 plays of offense. Navarre did. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to improve on that. So I would take Fort Walton Beach as well. And then perhaps maybe the pick of the week. The game of the week here, Niceville at Tallahassee Lincoln. I think in the number 3 team in Niceville against the number 4 team in 4A. I mean, I know you're going to that game.
Yeah, I'll be there and looking forward to it. It's like a heavyweight fight to start off the season. And Niceville traveling to Lincoln. You're going to see two of the, given by their rankings, two of the better teams in the state. I think Lincoln has the edge. And I was talking with John Hicks earlier, and he pointed out to me, he's got a couple of really good players that are listed on Rivals.com as being special players. Lincoln has 8. So there's a lot of talent on the field, and it's a little bit in Lincoln's favor. I'm going to pick Lincoln to win this one. Very close, maybe a 3-point game.
What I think has kind of been sprawled all over the papers in Tallahassee is the Lincoln coach getting caught for a DUI a few days ago. That should be interesting to see how that talented cadre of players responds to that. I do think Lincoln is a little bit too talented, regardless of that coaching riff. So I do think I see Lincoln. It's going to be a tight game, but I do see Lincoln coming away with that.
Those players and that family, that community, have really rallied around that coach. Yep. I think that's even more in Lincoln's favor.
Sure. All right, thank you for joining us here in the Blitz for Travis Downey and Will Parchman, and we'll see you again next time.